Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaveryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We are here this day and the following 4 days to study the third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita entitled Karma Yoga, the path of action. Most of you must be acquainted with this particular chapter, at least the title. The chapter Karma Yoga is been extremely popular in this country, and we are fortunate to be able to study this in these 5 days. We'll be covering 43 verses that it contains. Now, friends, a word or two before we get into the chapter. The path of action. As you know, there are 3 paths to the understanding or realizing the self in you. The Atman, the self in you, is unknown at this moment. So, to understand or realize the self, which is known as self-realization or God-realization, is pursued through 3 paths: the path of action, the path of devotion, and the path of knowledge. These 3 paths are prescribed because you all, as human beings, have 3 equipments: the physical body, the mind, and the intellect. So with these 3 equipments, you follow the 3 paths to reach the self. And these paths have to be proportioned according to your constitution. If you are more active, you follow the path of karma, path of action, more than the other 2. If you are an intellectual, an introvert, you follow the path of knowledge. If you are devotional, emotional, you follow the path of devotion, more than the other 2. But all 3 paths lead to self-realization. Every human being has separated from the self. You may ask me, how do you know? If you are not separated from the self, you will not be born into this world. The fact that you are born in the world is indicative that you are separated from the self. So all attempts to get back to the self is called yoga in Sanskrit, is called religion in English. The word religion is derived from 2 Latin terms, religare. Re means back again, ligare means unite, join. So the English word religion simply means to get back to your reunite with whatever you're separated from. As I mentioned to you, you're separated from the self. So religion is to reunite with the self. The word yoga is derived from the Sanskrit root yuj, means to join. So yoga simply means joining. And joining is indicative of the fact that you are separated. So you are separated from the self, and your attempt to get back to the self is called yoga in Sanskrit, religion, English. Now, if you use your physical body to get back to yourself, it's called karma yoga, the path of action. If you use your mind to get back to yourself, it's called bhakti yoga, the path of devotion. Use your intellect to get back yourself, it's called jnana yoga, the path of knowledge. Now, in this chapter, there's an exhaustive discussion or study of the path of action. In fact, the chapter is divided into 6 topics. The 6 topics are here, which is not in the original Bhagavad Gita. I have drawn these 6 chapters to make your understanding easier. Otherwise, if you go through the 43 verses, you don't know where he started, what is he talking about, and how is he ended. Now, with this break of the topics, it has become much easier to follow what it is all about, the 3rd chapter. So the first 3 verses, you see it on the board, first 3 verses, he introduces the concept of the path of action in the form of question and answer. Arjuna asks the question and Krishna answers. In 3 verses, he just gives that idea of what action is all about. Because Arjuna, as you go, you'll be seeing, is asking, what is the purpose of action? This Gora karma. Now, from 4 to 19, 16 verses he uses as an intellectual appeal to all of you for action. There's an appeal for action and beautiful logic and reason as to why you should act. And after that, 20 to 24, in the 3rd topic, 5 verses he spends as an emotional appeal for action. Because the backdrop is Arjuna is not moving. He has dropped the bow and arrow and he refused to fight. A great warrior. And is such a warrior that he has brought in gains to the country by defeating all the enemies. And here is a righteous war, and which they have planned for 13 long years to fight. And at the 0 hour, when the battle is about to begin, he lays down the bow and arrow and refuses to fight. A mighty hero was physically wrecked, mentally paralyzed, intellectually completely gone. He could not think. And he appealed to Krishna that I don't want to fight this battle, let's go back. This is the backdrop. In other words, Arjuna was not prepared for action. So, the 18 chapters of the Gita, The first chapter Arjuna speaks, the next 17 chapters he gives chaste logic and reason for him to act. So therefore, here is an emotional appeal asking him to act. And then the assumption is that he is ready for action. Arjuna is ready for action. So 25 to 35, he gives the technique of right action. What is right action? Which we believe we know how to act. And thereafter, 36 to 39, in the fifth topic, the impediments to right action. And the last topic, again 4 verses, how to overcome those impediments. This is the structure of the chapter. Now, the question is, it's only symbolic. What Krishna is talking to Arjuna is symbolic. Now, what is important for all of us to learn is the importance of action. Particularly in this country. In the foreign countries, it's not so bad. But in this country, we have dropped action. Hardly anybody is interested in action. And therefore you find the rupee going down and down, the dollar going up and up. Everything is going up except the rupee. Now why is it so? Plans after plans are given in this country, and the intellectual caliber of India is far superior than any other country. And I can tell you with authority because I have been traveling for the last 45 years continuously from New Zealand to Canada. Every year I go to these countries, so I know what's happening. And I am not going for sightseeing. I am only dealing with human minds. Now I am come to Bangalore. These 5 days I am only seeing the minds of people here, how you react. So therefore I know what's happening. The situation as far as action is concerned is far superior. Now here, there is no action. You go to the secretariat, there's no action. You go to the banks, there's no action. Nobody wants to act. And therefore, you find the plans going waste. I'm not criticizing, please. I'm trying to explain to you what's wrong with us. And very easy to tell you the final. And India has certain beautiful qualities which the foreign countries don't have. There's no use patting you on the back on what you have. What you do not have is important for you to know. And that is the spirit of action. Some of you may be wondering, how is it that we are all working and here's a man who says we are not interested in action? Is there one person here in this congregation, below or in the balcony, anywhere one person who is not interested in Friday evenings? Are you looking forward for Friday evenings or Monday mornings? This is the question. Don't answer me because I know the answer. Is there one soul here who's looking forward for Monday mornings? Because Monday and Tuesday must be holidays. He is a man putting up, or he is a retired person. Monday mornings. Is there any person who is looking forward for the day after the vacation? Why do you want weekends and vacation? What is your concept of recreation or rest? The concept of rest and recreation has become to stay away from action. That's why you seek weekends and vacations. I'm telling you something which we are practicing. In the academy, which I'm running, it's a 3-year course for students. It's a solid 3-year course. No weekends, no break for weekends or vacation. And they do it for 3 years. Many of them, if not all of them, extended to 5-6 years. Some of us have done for 40-50 years. I am working now. So, why are you interested in weekends and vacation? It's because you want to stay away from action. If you do not find rest and recreation in action, you'll never find it. And everybody is trying to find recreation by getting away from action. It doesn't work. That particular time you feel recreated, but again you get back into the rut. And so much so, you get so fed up that you seek VRS. What is this VRS? Huh? Fellow at 40, 45 wants to retire. And the people are working, really not interested in work. And after a while, even with the breaks, they are not able to take it. At end of the week, you must have a break. At the end of the year, you must have a break. And after 60, the company gives you a permanent break. So, what is it that has disturbed you? What is that which is bothering you? It's not action, as you believe yourself to be disturbing you. It's not action. As the great Ramatirtha says, if you don't find recreation in action, you will not find it. And one American asked him in 1902, the Swami Ramatirtha, what is rest? He shot off an answer. He said, intense work is rest. And what is your concept of rest? Staying away from action. It's totally contradictory. Now, what is that which is fatiguing you? The fact is, it fatigues you. It tires you out. At the end of the day, you're tired. At the end of the week, you must have a break, otherwise you'll break. At the end of the year, again you must have a longer break. Why is it? What is that which is troubling you? What is that which is giving you that fatigue, the loss of energy? If you carefully analyze, you're going to get the whole chapter talking about it. It is nothing but worries of the past, anxiety for the future. It's not action. Your worries of the past and your anxiety for the future saps your energy, tires you out. Not action. A simple proof of this is the child in your own house is effervescing with energy, is full of cheer. You are 10 times or 20 times stronger than the child. The adult has no energy. The child has tremendous energy. In fact, you can't let the child keep quiet. If you bring the child here, it is so fidgety, it wants to release its energy. You are all sitting like Lord Buddhas. Huh? no disturbance, no botheration because you are so fatigued. It is so nice to sit at a place. You keep a child there, it will not stay there for more than a few minutes. It's so fidgety. I had a visitor this morning. Who came there, and his wife and the gentleman was talking to me. He brought his grandchild. The boy must be about 5 years old. And believe me, we were talking, it is about an hour he spent with me. I was talking, my attention was not on him, but on the settees, the sofas. That fellow was jumping on the sofas all the time. Now, I would have kept quiet if it is my sofa, it's somebody else's house, It's a guest house, and the bad fellow was jumping and rolling, and not 1 minute for 1 hour. And my friend was absolutely peaceful, calm, collected, both of them. Where do they get that energy from? Where have you lost the energy? Not action. The child with effervescing with action. The child has no worries of the past, no anxiety for the future. And that's why I find it extremely active. You got all the worries of the past, all the anxiety for the future. That fatigues you, tires you, and therefore you need a break. So, here is a beautiful exposition of what is right action. It's very easy to say, get on to right action. What is right action? The whole chapter is talking about it, and those who are able to listen to all the 5 days, you get a clear picture of what action is all about. We'll start with verse 1.
Arjuna uvacha jayasi chet karmanaste mata buddhir janardana tat kim karmani ghore mam niyojayasi keshava.
Arjuna uvacha, as I said, the Bhagavad Gita is a conversation between Lord Krsna and Arjuna in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. In the conversation, sometimes Arjuna asks certain questions. In some chapters, Krishna continues what he has been talking about in the previous chapter. Now here is a break. Arjuna is asking a question. Uvacha means said, Arjuna uvacha. Arjuna said, Jayasi chet karmanaste badha buddhir janardana. O Janardana, if you think knowledge is superior to action, tat kim karmani ghore nam niyojayasi Keshava. O Keshava, why are you plunging me into this terrible action? Ghora karma. Karma action. Ghora means terrible action of fighting my own relatives and friends. Why are you? I told you, let us go back, and you are asking me to fight this battle. And all the time I listen to you, you seem to indicate that knowledge is superior to action. Oh Janardana, a name of Krishna, and Keshava, another name of Krishna. I'll come back to it. 2 names he gives in this one verse. O Krishna, if you consider knowledge superior to action, why then do you engage me in this terrible action of fighting my own kith and kin? This is the question. Now, the choice of words is something very interesting. Throughout the Gita you'll find, but we can't afford to analyze we go into the philosophical content rather than the literary beauty. Sir, in any scripture, there are two things. Please understand. You go to even any literature like Shakespeare or Milton or Wordsworth, you will find two things. One is the literary beauty, other is the philosophy it's conveying. If there is no philosophy, it's not a piece of literature worth reading. The scriptures are exquisite literature, and they have a philosophy. And the poet, the sage, is here to communicate that philosophy. Now, friends, the philosophy is packaged in beautiful literature. I would say 90% are not interested in the scripture of humanity. Nobody reads. Nobody wants to read. So you take away 90%, the scripture is lost. Out of the 10% that are studying, I would say 95% of the people are swayed away, carried away by the literary beauty. So hardly anybody goes into the philosophy of it. That is why you find all sorts of troubles arising in spiritual institutions. If you carefully analyze the problems in the world, it's more concentrated in spiritual institutions. In short, if you scrap all the religions in the world, there'll be perfect peace. There is absolute peace and tranquility in the world. It's the religions that the battles are fought, blood is shed, years and years of decades and centuries in the name of religion. Find out what is the bitterness between personalities, between societies, between nations, religion. I was in Beirut some time back. Somebody invited me. And there, the country is almost divided 50-50 between two religious bodies. I'm not even going into details, which is not necessary. Religion A, religion B. It has been a battlefield for decades. The temporary cessation of the civil war was there, and therefore I was invited. Believe me, I was counting the number of days to get out of that place. Because the beautiful house that it was a palatial house that I was staying in, one of the leading people there. But the whole house is like smallpox, all with gunshots. There's so much bitterness. In the name of religion, they're fighting. Here, if at all there's any bitterness, this is a religion, because the philosophy is lost. The philosophy is not known at all. It's not lost, it's not known at all. So 90% don't go into the religious aspect. After 10%, 95% or perhaps 99% are carried away the beauty of the language rather than what that literature is talking about. The philosophy is hardly understood and nowhere communicated. I'm talking about the highest religious bodies in this country and every part of the world. And therefore people are where they are. Catastrophe after catastrophe. The tidal wave is not a physical thing. It is a mental condition of the people. You ask for trouble, you get it. Lord Vishnu has 4 hands. In the 4 hands he's showing Shankhu, Chakra, Gada, Padma. Padma represents, it's a lotus, represents peace. The peace is within you. The Atman is within you. It represents the Atman. and there is a call to the Atman, which is the conscience. The conscience calls you towards that peace. And even in a criminal, even in a murderer, there's something telling him, no, this is not right, this is not right. And even if you're doing the negative things of life, there's something telling you it's not right, and you still do it. Never mind. But there's a conscience guiding you to the right channel. You don't heed it. If you don't heed it for long, you get gada, the maze, knocks and shocks of life. And these are the things. Wiping away thousands and thousands, telling you, look here, behave yourself. They're not external factors, they're internal factors. Since nobody has read the philosophy, nobody knows what's happening. So there is a peace within, there's a call in what we layman calls as the inner voice, which is the conscience. And if you don't heed the conscience, you get the knocks and shocks of life. If you still don't heed it, chakra. The chakra is the disc sword which annihilates you. You're not punished for the sin, you're punished by the sin, by your own action. So it's happening, it'll be showing individually and collectively. Collectively is what you're seeing. Suddenly there is AIDS coming. It's not an aid. AIDS is a disease. Everybody is worried about AIDS. Then comes SARS. They're terrified what this SARS are. Now the latest worry in Bombay is some pollution. What is this? Hepatitis. You will die only once. Why don't you die once? Every newspaper you read, you die. Fear, 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 fear. Huh? Die once. Everything that's happened, because that fear is there. You're not doing the right things. So therefore, friends, there is a conscience. If you don't heed it, the knocks. If you don't heed that, you will be annihilated by your action, not for your action, by your own action. So people have lost the philosophy of it, and they are content with the mere literature. And that's why you find chanting and chanting going on. For what? I'm not against chanting. Now if I make you sit here and these 5 days I chant the slokas, you will be caricatures by the time you leave. I can also start chanting and chanting and chanting. What does the chant mean is the question. What is the message by the Lord? He's speaking. He's telling you something. Instead of finding out what he's saying, you're just glorifying yourself by chants. What is this chant for? We're also chanting. And every verse is chanted. But then you must understand what it is all about. So I'll give you an example. The word Janardana is derived from two words. Janan, Ardhayati. Janan means people. Ardhayati, protector. So Janardana is Janan Ardhayati, which means protector of the people. It's the name of Krishna. The derivation is that he is the protector of the people. That's how he got the name. Keshava is, the derivation is, he is the killer of the demon Keshi. Keshi is a demon and he destroyed that demon. So he's got the name protector of the people, killer of Keshi. In one sloka he uses two words. One is protector, other is the killer. No, that in poetry, how beautifully he bends. Arjuna is confused. He's saying, look here, is knowledge superior, action superior? Please tell me, why are you engaging me in this action if knowledge is superior? This is the confusion. The pronouns he uses also is a confusion. Protector, killer. Are you a protector or a killer? He is not asking that. So this is the beauty of the literature. It's beautifully given out. It means the same actually. Now, a doctor is a protector of the people, he is the killer of disease germs. Both are correct, no? So there is no contradiction if you understand it. A doctor is a killer of the germs, protector of the people. Sometimes it's the other way about. He protects the germs. So, O Janardana, O Keshava, now if you think knowledge is superior, why are you indulging me in this terrible, terrible action? So, this is, and then he continues the confusion in the second verse.
Vyamishreneva vakyena buddhim mohayasiva me tadekam vada nischitya yena shreyohamapnuyam.
With apparently perplexing speech, you confuse, as it were, my understanding. Krishna is continuing, Arjuna is continuing the question. He is saying, Vyamisreneva vyakena buddhim moya sevame. You're confusing my intellect. I'm not able to understand with this perplexing, contradicting speeches that you're given. Now he says, Tadekam vada nischitya yena shreho mapnuyam. He says, tell me now, conclusively, with certainty, one way by which I may attain the highest. Now your words are very confusing. At one time you seem to say that knowledge is superior, so you're talking so much about knowledge. And then again you're talking about the glory of action. Now, am I to act or am I to learn this philosophy? What should I do? Tell me conclusively, which will take me to the highest perfection? There. Those who have been following me also, not only here, everywhere, highly confused. I have only succeeded in confusing people. I'll tell you why. Even if you had heard me for this Havana, at one moment I started off saying, action, action, action is a must. And the whole thing is about the Bhagavad Gita knowledge. Now, if fortunately you don't think, if you are a thinking person, what is he saying? Am I to study the scriptures? Am I to learn this philosophy? He says philosophy is the most important thing. And then at the same time, action, action, action is saying. Now, Swami, you yourself decide, what should I do? Am I to act or am I to learn this philosophy? This is his question. Very, very confusing. Krishna, I don't understand a word of what you're saying. Tadekam vada nischaya, ekam vada. Ekam vada means one word, tell me. Am I to do this? Sir, the psychology is, Arjuna is a man of action. He's a warrior. In a warrior wants to know whether he is told what to do. A soldier is told what to do. March, march, retreat, retreat. There's no discussion. It's the politicians who will discuss, all literary fellows all will discuss. But as far as these people are concerned, they must be told whether to do this or not to do this. So he is confused. Don't tell me all this. It's a very interesting thing. I was working in a multinational for a while, very short term. In fact, I was working because the ashram which I was preparing to join was not ready. So that is why temporarily I was filling in there. In that company that I was working, oil company, Esso, you all know that. There's a very interesting fellow I met. He was the sales manager. And a chap called Perry. And one day when I was talking to him, I learned that he was a fighter pilot in the Air Force, US Air Force. It's a very important position. Fighter pilot became the sales manager. So I was curious. One day I went to him, I said, Jim, I can't understand why you chose to get into this job when you're a fighter pilot in a US Air Force. And he told me something which was very interesting, which is directly related to this verse. That's why he said, though I was a fighter pilot, all along I was working there, I'm told what to do. Go there, shoot, return. I'm not allowed to think for myself. I'm just asked to do whatever the bosses tell me. I have no chance to use my own discretion. Now, here is a sales department. The entire sales department, the territory, is given for me to develop. So I use my discretion what to do, what not to do. I'm given the freedom of choice, freedom of action, which I don't have as a fighter pilot. I'm just told what to do. I can't argue, I can't discuss. Therefore I chose it. Made a lot of sense. Similarly here, Arjuna was a man of action. He has to be told, do this, don't do this. Now he can't understand the logic and reason, and therefore he says, Ekavada, tell me what I should do. Either a march or retreat. Don't confuse me with this perplexing speech. And Krishna gives the answer now.
Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Lokesmin Dvividha Nishtha Pura Prokta Maya Nagha Jnana Yogena Samkhyanam Karma Yogena Yoginam.
Sri Bhagavan Vacha, the Blessed Lord said, Lokesmin Dvividanishta Puro Praptha Mayanaga Jnana Yogena Samkhyanam Karma Yogena Yoginam. He says, in this loke means in this world, or anaga. Anaga literally means sinless one. Krishna had a very fine opinion of Arjuna. He liked him as a human being. And therefore he addresses him as a flawless one, a sinless one. Arjuna is just a name. As far as you're concerned, you can say, oh Arjuna. The derivation is, oh sinless one. In this world, loke, there is a twofold path. The path of knowledge for the Sankhyans. Sankhyans in the sense intellectuals, introverts. And the path of action for the yogis means active people. Pura Prokta Mayanaga. It has been laid down from time immemorial. It's an old thought. It's not a new idea I'm giving you now. It's laid down earlier that there's a twofold path. One for the active persons, the path of action, and the path of knowledge for the introverts, intellectual. Now what happens is, there's a beautiful reason for this. Sir, the chronology of action is a vasana. Vasana is the stuff you're made up of. We say a student has student vasanas. A gambler has gambling vasanas. A businessman has business vasanas. A musician has music vasanas. Vasanas is your nature, quality, the stuff that you're made up of. So whatever your vasanas are, you will produce such thoughts, such desires, and such actions. So the chronology of an action is, vasana produces a thought produces a desire, and desire produces an action. This is happening every moment of your life. Now, sooner or later you must recognize what's happening to you. If you're producing, the fact that I'm talking is an action. That action is preceded by a desire to talk to you. And that desire to talk to you is preceded by thoughts. These thoughts that I entertain, and that comes through my basic vasanas. So if, in fact, I was in a business family, my family was known for business. When I left them, it was a 90-year-old business. So I didn't have those vasanas for business. I never joined the family business. And therefore, there was no business thoughts, business desires, and business. I didn't do any business. I'm not saying anything wrong with it. But I had these vasanas for introverted study, reflection. Those thoughts prevailed, those desires developed, and I'm in this action, these actions. So therefore, there are desires. If you don't understand vasanas, are unmanifest desires. So these desires produce actions. So when you are in the spiritual path of karma yoga, which he's talking about now, the whole chapter is talking about, when you do the proper action, you slowly drop your vasanas, which means your desires. At this moment, you are with X amount of vasanas, desires. And as long as you have desires, you're prone to action. You will have to act, and that's what he is coming to. As long as you have desires, you've got to act. Suppose you have a desire for music. You read the newspaper and you find a great artist is coming to Bangalore. So immediately you will talk to your family and say, let us book tickets and go to the performance. Why? Because you have a desire. If suppose you didn't have the desire for music, you won't even register. Somebody is coming, artist. Next page. One day international cricket. If you have a desire for cricket, one day international coming, and let us get tickets to go to the cricket match. We understand. Suppose you don't know the spelling of cricket. One day international or 10-day international, put it, next page. There's no desire. If there's no desire, therefore there's no action. Unless you have a desire, you're not prone to action. So since you have too many desires, your action, you're all the time acting. You're going around like a chicken without a head, rushing, worrying all the time. Very relevantly, Mr. Agrawal, when he talked in the introduction, he did say, very modestly, he was talking and saying, we are all caught up in the rat race. That's what he said. What is this rat race? There's no rat, there's no race. They're running around because there's too many desires. Now, the conversation before I came, he was very interestingly, he brought it out. Otherwise, I wouldn't have said this. So I was asking him, just how are you? He said, fine. Meaning, is one who exercises every day. At least that part of it you must learn from him. He exercises every day, because I've been his house guest, we also were exercising. Not because I was in his house, but even before we were exercising. So we are exercising. So everything is perfect physically. Now, therefore, next question I asked him is, what about your reading? As he confessed, he said, I am not reading. That's why I am calling you again and again, so that I may read. You understand? So, unless you study the scriptures, there is no salvation. I'm not talking about moksha. Even in this life, even in the material field, there will not be any. How many heads have rolled by? Corporate heads have rolled by. They are not successful even in the business. Unless you have that clarity of thought, you can't be successful even in business. If you claim to be, I'm not talking about him now, I'm talking generally, anybody here who's successful in business is because others are unsuccessful. That is why you're scoring. It's not because your greatness of thinking. Unless you start, this subject makes you think. Just think. And unless you think, you can't act properly. So therefore, as he said, everybody is running here, helter-skelter, too many desires. When the desires, if you start performing karma yoga, action in the right direction, which is the whole chapter talking about, you offload your vasanas, desires. Your desires becomes less. If your desires become less, you're not prone to activity so much. You're not running around all over the place with actions. You become more contained, more poised, more intellectual. Such people need intellectual food for thought. They need to follow the path of knowledge. So therefore he says, one class of people are very active because they have got a lot of desires. They need to follow the path of action. Another class of people are reduce the desires. They are prone to be more introvert. Such people are given the path of knowledge. In this world, there is a twofold path, as has been said before. The path of knowledge for the introverts and the path of action for the extroverts.
Na karmanam anarambhat naishkarmyam purushoshnude na cha sanyasana deva siddhim samadhigacchati.
Now he says, na karmanam narambat naishkarmyam purushoshnude. Now he says, naishkarmyam literally means actionlessness, which means perfection. When he says actionlessness is perfection, doesn't mean you must stop activity. What he means is the vasana produces a thought, thought produces a desire, desire produces an action. Perfection, spiritual perfection or spiritual enlightenment you reach when you have dropped all vasanas, all desires. Man minus vasanas equals God. A human being minus desires is the same thing, equals God. God plus desires equals a human being. So when he says perfection, Godhood is actionlessness, means desirelessness, means thoughtlessness means vasanalessness. You got to understand it that way. This is poetry. And this is scriptural literature. They deliberately put it in a way to make you think. So when he says naishkarmyam is perfection, he means actionlessness, which is desirelessness, which is vasanalessness. So that state of actionlessness cannot be acquired unless through action. It is through action you reach actionlessness. By merely abstaining from action, you can't reach actionlessness. You must plow through action, right action. Wrong action develops desires, right action eliminates, exhausts desires. So it is through action that you reach the state of perfection, not by abstaining from action, nor by renouncing whatever you are doing. You can't attain perfection. So perfection is attained through action. Therefore, action is important, Arjuna. You can't run away from this opportunity to act. Continue.
Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishtatya karma krit karyate yavashah karma sarva prakriti jair gunaihi.
Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishtatya karma krit. None can ever remain inactive even for a moment. You must, as long as you're living, you must act. Inaction is death. See, this is in the absolute sense and a relative sense. You know, some of the rich guys, I find throughout the country, the moment they can afford, they have a driver for starting. At the age of 30, the fellow has a driver. I am not against having drivers. The driver drives. After a few years, by 33, 34, he is not able to drive. Who? The owner. He becomes senile. There are people, you'll be surprised, by 40 they can't drive their cars. So the moment you stop action, I'm giving one example, you stop action, you become senile. Similarly, you stop exercises, you're not able to walk properly. There's a gentleman, I'm not mentioning his name, a very famous industrialist in Bombay. He can walk only in flat. He can't climb stairs. And therefore, his office on the 25th floor. He goes to the lift and it takes to the 25th floor and all straight walking. But when he gets down from his car, he has 2 steps to get onto the fire, to the lift. Those 2 steps he is not able to climb. So they installed a lift for 2 steps. I've seen it myself. The man goes and stands there, and then he walks. You're not able to climb 2 steps. So you become senile. This is in any field of activity. In any field of activity, the same problem. You stop any action, then you are impoverished. You can't act afterwards. So therefore, just because I've seen a fellow at 36, 37, he goes, the car stops, he gets out of the car. And in fact, he doesn't get out. The driver rushes and opens the car. Only when the driver opens the door, he can get down. And he walks majestically, as if he owns the whole building. And then, in the 25th floor, the driver brings his briefcase, which is, weight is 7 ounces. The fellow carries the thing to 25th floor and hands it over. He will not lift it. A time would come you can't lift your own body. That is what happened to these fellows. Now, I am not saying you should not have a driver. Please have it because your effort is there in this country, particularly you need a driver. But you drivers should sit at the back. So don't stop any activity. If you stop any activity, none can remain without action. All are made to act avashaha. Avashaha means helplessly by the qualities of Prakriti. The nature of your vasanas. As long as you have vasanas, you've got to act. If you don't express yourself, you are in trouble. You've got to act in your own field. So action is a must, because you have vasanas. If you have vasanas, it produces action. Just as the ocean produces waves, fire produces heat, a rose produces fragrance. It's a natural phenomena. Since you have got vasanas, you must act.
Karmendriyani samyamya ya aste manasa smaran indriyarthan vimudhatma mithyachara sa uchyate.
He who restraining the organs of action sits mentally indulging in sense objects. Now there's one class of people he's condemning. He says, if you restrain your organs of action, if you stop acting, at the mental level you will be having these thoughts and desires. Such people is Vimudatma, colossal fools. And he is called a mithyachara, means a hypocrite. He leads a hypocritical life. What he is talking about is personalities who put on he puts on an act of spirituality. That's what he's saying. Physically he doesn't do. Mentally he is doing, in the mental level, thoughts and desires are all materialistic, sensual. When you have materialistic and sensual desires and only physically restrain yourself. Physically I don't do anything. But mentally I am entertaining the thoughts of sensuality and materiality. Such a person is first of all, a stupid fellow, Vimudatma, colossal fool. And when he acts like that, he is a mithyacharasya uchyate. He is a mithyachara, it means a hypocrite. He lives a hypocritical life. It's very simple. This verse is very simple. The next verse is a little problem to understand. What he's saying is, you will not understand. If you put on an act of religiosity and entertain all sensual and material thoughts, such people are hypocrites, he says. Clearly states. Now, don't go into any conclusions, but it is a statement of fact. I'm not talking about your opinion or my opinion of persons. But if any person who does that, it could be you, it could be me, it could be anybody, who entertains sensual thoughts and desires, but physically restrains himself and puts on an act of spirituality, is a hypocrite.
Yastvindriyani manasa niyamya rabhate Arjuna karmendriyai karma yogam asakta savishishyate.
Then he now discusses how to deal with the desires that you already have. So, desires you have. The 6th verse said, if you have desires and physically restrain yourself, mentally you are entertaining the desires, you are a hypocrite, he says. Now what should you do? Beautifully indicated here. He says, he who restrains the senses at the mental level, mind level, you don't want to indulge, but engages his organs of action in karma yoga. He acts in a spirit of service and sacrifice without asakta, without attachment. So whatever you do, to the best of ability, you are able to work in a spirit of service and sacrifice, whatever you do. And restraining the senses. You're not shy to say, yes, you have these desires, but I'm controlling the desires and employing myself in the best interest to the society. There is, broadly speaking, 2 actions. One is self-centered actions. Self-centered actions is what you could get from any action. So when I come here to Bangalore, now my thought could be, I'm acting now. It's not the action that makes a person pure, which all of you would believe, or most of you would believe. See, for the last 40, 50 years, I've been doing only this. I've been talking about the scriptures, either collectively or individually, or writing books. Now that itself means nothing. I'm not being falsely modest. But what is behind the action? The question is, what is one performing the actions for? What is the purpose? What is the reason? What for am I acting? That's the question. So in other words, this action of talking to you on the Bhagavad Gita may be only to glorify myself, to earn a name and fame of following, or whatever, to get something from you all, maybe interest, or the same action of talking to you could be totally dedicated for the welfare of the community. That makes the difference. So as far as there's a desire to talk, let us say. I'm not talking about myself, I'm talking generally. A desire to talk could be infested for selfish reasons, or karma yoga means for the sake of the community. The same action, see, you got business vasanas, business desires. You can't meditate in the Himalayas if you have business vasana. Perform your desires, go. But don't pretend you have business vasanas, you go to the Himalayas. Hypocrite. If at all you go to the Himalayas, you will start their Himalayan silk stores. Because you got business vasanas. You understand? One fellow came to me, only one person it has happened, came to me. Anybody who comes to the academy that I'm running there, it's a beautiful campus, very hills on all sides, very peaceful, very quiet. It's a beautiful campus. Everybody coming there, he says, Swamiji, you created a heaven here. This is the general comment. Only for 1 week it lasts, that heaven. After 1 week, that itself becomes hell. Now that's not, I'm not going to that. But they say everybody comes as a heaven. One fellow come to me and says, Swamiji, I have an idea. Oh, tell me, I said, because that fellow is quite well-to-do. Tell me, I said. You know what this is going to be? A very important center, Swamiji. You have done a magnificent job. Lot of people, foreigners and others, all are coming. Even everybody is coming this side. It's going to be a very busy center. I think so too, I said. I just following his line of thinking. Therefore, I want your opinion. What about, I want to start a fast food. I said, what? That fellow says, in that corner I'll start a fast food. Morning and noon he was listening to the Upanishads. And the end of it, he says he's a frank fellow, at least he's telling. But if you have business vasanas and you want to suppress this and put on an act of religiosity, it doesn't work. So therefore, you do your business. He says, whatever your business is, but do in the interest of the society. Same business, you can help people. Help people doesn't mean you do give your products free of charge. No, you genuinely want to serve the community through your business. It's possible. You're giving employment, you're giving products which will be used by the society, not concentration on how much you can earn from it. By this method, you will earn more, incidentally. Therefore, he who restrains the senses at the mental level and engages himself in the yoga of action without this attachment, craving for something for yourself, such a person excels. He says, sa vishishyate, he excels.
Niyatam kuru karma tvam karma jyayo hya karmanaha sharira yatra pichate na prasidhyeda karmanaha.
Therefore, he says, niyatam kuru karmatvam karma jahyo hya karmanaha. Therefore, perform your obligatory duties. Your business is to perform your obligatory duties. Niyatam karma, I'll come back to it, is superior to inaction. Performing your niyatam karma is superior to inaction, not acting. And even the maintenance of the body is not possible by being inactive. As I said, if you are inactive, you can't maintain the body. Even for 2 steps you need a lift. You can't maintain the body itself through inaction. Therefore, the more you act, the more energetic the body is. Sir, look at sportsmen. How much they slog, they go for jogging, they go for yoga, they go for exercises, and they are brilliant physically. Physically, they are so active, so energetic. The moment you stop activity, you become senile, you become slower and slower until you can't act even. You understand? So it is not only sportsmen, athletes, wrestlers, boxers, all these people are acting all the time. So you don't have to be wrestlers, boxers. I'm saying you start acting. What is action? Sir, when the doorbell rings, get out of your seat and answer the bell. Now there are 3 servants in my house. They are strong and you are weak. Go to the bell and answer. You want a glass of water, you go to the kitchen and get yourself a glass of water. You have the servants for convenience. But if you stop acting, you become senile. So therefore, even the maintenance of the body is not possible without action. And therefore, you must perform niyatam karma. Niyatam karma means obligatory duties. Niyatam karma consists of 2 actions, nitya karma and naimittika karma. Nitya karma means regular routine duties. Naimittika karma means occasional special duties. I repeat, he says perform niyatam karma. Niyatam karma consists of 2 types of activities, nitya and naimittika. One is regular routine duties, daily duties. And the other is occasional special duties. I don't have to define. You can define your own. Sometimes you have a visitor, you have somebody, you have occasional duties towards them. And then regular duties to your own family, to your own colleagues, etc. So you got to perform these 2. nitya and naimittika, which is niyatam karma. So, perform your obligatory duties. And if you don't perform your obligatory duties, even maintenance of the body is not possible. Inaction is death. But while you are acting, remember to perform your duties. Sir, any nation, any society, any individual whose basis or foundation is on duty flourishes. Any nation which is based on duties flourishes, but if it's based on rights, it perishes. It's a law. Fortunately, in India, we are more prone to do our duties rather than claim rights. At least at the domestic level, we feel this is my duty towards my family, and the family feels this is my duty towards my husband or wife or whatever. We function more on duties. In the Western countries, it's rights. This is my right, I married her. A lady says, I married him, this is my right. So the whole infrastructure perishes. 67% divorces in America. Why? Rights. There's hardly any divorces here because it's based on duties. Any society which is based on duties flourishes. And if it claims on rights, sooner or later it will perish. Same thing with the individual. An individual who is based on duties, you see him grow. And any fellow who only claims rights, he is finished. It's a question of time. So, niyatam kuru karmatvam karma jahyoya karmana. You must perform your niyatam karma. And that is superior to inaction. Even to maintain your body is not possible through inaction. You must act. We'll continue tomorrow.